Welcome to the Social Media Church podcast, and we are talking about video courses for ministry. And I'm here with Neil Smith, our co-host of the show. Hey, Niels.
What's up, Jay? And we are also joined by our longtime friend Kenny Jang with us again on the Social Media Church podcast. Welcome, Kenny.
What's up, guys? Good to be here with you.
And I know we're audio only, but on the video, Kenny is just doing like a little tour of his home. So I love this. I love this. So anyway, so let's just jump into this. So we are going to be talking about video courses. So Kenny, the reason that you're part of this conversation is because you're great at this. And I know, Niels, you have some background. You've done some video courses as well. So Kenny, with churches, just let's define it. What are video courses? What does that mean online?
Yeah, I think the potential for tapping video courses, both live and self-paced, is huge for courses, right? We know in the church world that discipleship is an area that almost all churches will raise their hand and say they're not doing enough of, or they want to go deeper, or it's a place that they want to explore how to engage their people even further. And I think this is one of the areas where technology just we're at the tip of the iceberg of what could happen with video. Now, Jay, your church in particular started, I think, the technology piece with video-based curriculums for small groups at Saddleback. And I think using the internet to do this kind of stuff is just an extension of that.
Yeah, and that's definitely a big part of how, even with our church online, my day-to-day job as an online pastor makes it really easy. We have content that's available anywhere that people can access. And so for us, we move people from online into a class, into a small group, and in the context of a small group, they can live out their faith. So obviously, if I want to train my people that are non-local, I got to have some kind of system set up, and video courses are a great way. And what I love about it is there's so many ways. You can use, Infusion software. You can use a MailChimp kind of workflow, kind of email trigger. There's so many different ways. I know, Niels, you have recently set up a video course for training. How did that get started?
Yeah, so I've experimented with a few different platforms, and I would love to hear, maybe from Kenny, as he's probably the core expert in this area, is what is a video course? Well, I can tell you what we've done, or the three platforms that I've used. The first being Right Now Media. So we use Right Now Media has a leadership training module where you can use any of their videos or upload your own, and then you have questions that people can go through, and it's kind of on an individual basis. So you kind of email everybody out, take this course, and then you can actually, as a leader, see, who's taken it, who's gone through it, how far did they get, so you can get some great information about, from a leadership volunteer training perspective. The second one, it was what we did with online church leaders. So onlinechurchleaders.com was a free course for anybody who wanted to learn about online church. And so we gathered together different leaders in different areas of online church to do training, and that people could just then go through that on their own and learn. But it had some some opportunities for questions where people could kind of submit through Facebook any questions they might have had. And so we just basically put up the content, made it available for free to let people engage and connect and learn from each other and build that community. And then the third, and so with that one, we used Infusionsoft, and then Customer Hub was the portal and the platform that we used to build it. And I will say, from my learning with that, is it was a lot of learning, with Infusionsoft and Customer Hub. And while it works very well, Customer Hub wasn't very mobile compatible, or I just didn't like the user interface a whole lot and not very flexible. And then the last one that I've recently done is churchtechnology.guide. So churchtechnology.guide. I used a Squarespace website that just basically links to a platform called Kajabi Next. Kajabi also lacks flexibility, but it's so easy to set up, and it's so easy for the end user to use, and the tracking that I get of who went through and how far they got, and then being able to leave questions and kind of have a moderated chat where it's kind of a community-based learning experience is by far the best experience I've had so far. So those are the three different platforms I've used and how I've put out there. And the last one is paid. So I've tried kind of free and paid, and then internally with the church.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we're talking about this is that, Kenny and I have released this new video course on doing social media. So it's socialmediajumpstart.tv. And part of that was we wanted to do some training to help people that are doing social media, both churches and different variety of different settings. And it's a couple week long series, and we launched this. And so as we were doing this, Kenny, you've done this a couple different times. This is the first time I've done like a robust kind of setting, and it was really fun, and it kind of unlocked a lot of ideas. So Kenny, with socialmediajumpstart.tv, and we'll put links in the show notes as well. But Kenny, how did that, even that basic? So I know a lot of people listening are going to go and take this course. So how did you set this up? Because you did all the hard work of setting it up. I just was part of the video and recording. But how did you actually set that up? What is that set up on?
Yeah, so the premise behind that course is that there's a lot of materials out there for like the 101 material, right? There's a lot of training materials out there. But what about the 001 course level material? People who just aren't even on social media yet, right? So we were trying to, I think in our brainstorming, thinking about even the churches that we're at, where there's staffs that, hundreds of people are in the organizations that we are serving in, and how do you get to all of them with varying degrees of expertise? And a clear, a bunch of those people are people that actually have never had much experience or interaction with them. So the route we took for socialmediajumpstart.tv is we want to really lower the bar, not only in terms of the level of content, but even how they engage. So the way you do it is we put out a landing page where you can set up and enter your email address, and then that's it. There's no logins, there's no passwords, there's no website to go to. Everything is delivered to you via email. And so in this case, we're using Infusionsoft on the back end to deliver an autoresponder-based email course, so that all they need to do is sign up once, and then they get in there. The emails just arrive as they engage. So we even set it up so that if you're clicking on the videos to watch the videos as we deliver them, that probably means that you're engaged, and you're not just putting it to the side and saying, hey, I'll look at this on the weekend and never get to it. So we have two modes of interaction. One is if you are engaging, it will accelerate the delivery, because we're assuming that, hey, if you did course episode 1 and you watched it, you probably want to get to number 2, and then number 3, number 4. And then if you happen to be busy that week and get buried at work and just don't happen to play the video, then we'll slow down the delivery. We'll wait a week before we actually deliver the next video. And that responsiveness mimics a personal touch, I think, a little bit. But technology allows us to automate the entire process. So that was the philosophy and how we're thinking about socialmediajumpstart.tv. I think as we go and build more courses after that, we might have hybrids, but that's the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and I think this question, and I'm really setting it up because I think it will help church leaders think about how they can better use it. What is your end goal for this course? So if people sign up, what's your objective? Why are you putting out a course? What's your hope and objective around the course?
Yeah, I think for us, Jay and I were just thinking, we wanted to almost like bless our ministries and our communities that we're around. We have so many people that come up to us, I think, randomly at meetings and conferences, or just I get emails on a weekly basis at Liquid Church asking just random questions. And so this is, I think, an efficient way that's appropriate for the audience out there to get this information that's structured. It was easy to put together. We took a full day of videotaping in a studio room. And it's just to share the information, get people equipped. I think the next set of materials that we're trying to do is really equip them further, go deeper into one or two of those vertical platforms.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. What I love about it is, we all get those questions either in ministry, either ministry work, whatever it is that we get asked constantly. So I always get asked, how do you do church online? I was just on I just recorded an episode for the Church Pro podcast. And so asking about church online, and it's the same questions. I also constantly get asked, how do you do online groups at Saddleback? And so there's all these questions that bog down our email box. And so the thing is, yes, I have template emails for some of those things. I've done some of those things. Yes, I've done that. I've written some of that out, on my personal blog. But there's also some ways that come along when I'm talking to someone on the phone, I can be more personal. And what I loved about this is that we were able, Kenny and I, we're able to do this training. And now I have this. Now, the cool thing is Kenny and I have a good dynamic between us. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And some of that personal kind of touch. And the format was great because we define it. We kind of give some practical kind of next steps. We highlighted some expert tools, and we said, here's an easy kind of thing you need to do moving on. So it was very easy. And now I've already been able to, there's been a couple people that have just come in my inbox, and I've just kind of gone, hey, check this out. And I've done it for church. I've also done it for some potential clients that I'm talking to. I'm like, yeah, maybe you can't, maybe we don't have something we can do, but you can take this free class and I can kind of get you going. But it's a great way to kind of use your time more wisely. And I think this is why I wanted to talk about it on the show, is that churches, there's so many things you're doing. Even internally at Saddleback, we're talking about this thing about men's and women's ministry, about how we ask church, as an average church attender, we ask you to come to church on the weekend, we ask you to be part of a small group, and we ask you to serve. So those are three things that can demand your presence any given week. And so do we really want them to come to another women's event, a men's event every week? Why can't we use training on demand to maybe influence the small group aspect that they're already showing for? And then we have, a couple gatherings every week. And part of that is, some of that is on-demand training. And maybe you can listen to a podcast on the way to work about what does it look like to be a man of God or a woman of God. Or maybe you take this online training course that goes a little deeper. And so I think there's so many things at churches that you can leverage this type of technology, and you don't need to go build it. You can use Infusion. You can use, I use, because I'm like, even Kenny, we were talking about the software that we use for the social media jumpstart. It seems like a robust, system. It kind of like scares me, and I'm glad you were doing it. But like, I love MailChimp. I love the email trigger workflow stuff that they do. I do that for my own personal blog sign up, and then I have a couple emails set up, and $10 a month, for, depending on how many subscribers you have, but $10 a month. And you can trigger an email to be sent so many. Now, that's a very easy way, but there's some more robust ways. But I love this. Churches need to be thinking about moving away from doing training on site and more training on demand, modeling Netflix and so forth, so that we can train more people. So, yeah.
And I think one of the other great advantages is church is done in community. And so while you can do it through email and it can be more materials that people are growing and learning in, there's also plenty of online learning opportunities that are done communally, where there are chat rooms, there are connections to get people connected socially through these platforms. So it doesn't have to be an isolated learning experience. But I don't think churches should say everything has to be done in community. Yeah. Certain things can be done in community, and certain things can be done through email. Certain things can be done through text messages. Certain things can be done through various communication platforms. And so I think about like a new believer. So we're actually looking at that as a church of, if somebody goes to cbcnewbeliever.com and then we have them submit their email address, and then that creates an exact same sequence that you're talking about, Kenny, that's essentially almost an online course that they would go through. Or there's so many, or a membership class online, and what that can look like. There are so many possibilities. I'm curious, Kenny, you having done this many times, I feel like I've tinkered in it. You live in this. What would you say is the best place for a church to start, and where do you see churches moving, for generally speaking? Where can they go into this? Because when you talk about Infusionsoft, my head hurts too. I spent 6 months trying to learn it, and then I just I've kind of like Jay, I've kind of moved into MailChimp and Kajabi just because it's easy. Yeah. So what do you recommend, Kenny?
Infusionsoft has the nickname Confusionsoft for a reason, right? It's a Porsche. It's a Lamborghini. It has all the bells and whistles that you'd ever want.
Yeah. But it looks like a Kia.
Yes. But I think again, there's my church this week is considering BombBomb as one. There's tons of other platforms. MailChimp does allow the triggering now. So there's a lot of options out there. I think one of the first places to start is the basics. So one of the things I'm doing for both Church Online and also the general church is Church Online. I'm starting to build a series of our 10 most popular video sermon series of this past volunteers, because our own ministry volunteers should know our core messages, our most popular messages, right? So that's a great place to start. Another one is your core beliefs of your church. We have some the DNA of our church is articulated in some core beliefs, and both the volunteers and staff should know them, and our people should know them, right? You should be able to recite them over and over again. It's kind of like the 5 pillars of the 40 days of purpose-driven life, right? So it's the same thing. Building a sequence of content that shares those basics, I think, is a great first place to start.
I love that. So that's super practical. And what we're going to do is, and I know we listed out a bunch of different ways you can host this. We're going to put all that info in the show notes so you can link out. You can do and we'll kind of link it out with beginner, medium, and then here's some expert tools to go on. So I do want to highlight, check out Neil's video course at churchtechnology.guide to learn more about, how you can take that. There's some great resourcing there. And you can check out Kenny and our new training at socialmediajumpstart.tv to kind of get a little before the 101, a 01 kind of beginning of social media. Thanks, Kenny, for being a guest on this week. And to learn everything else about our show, go to socialmedia.church and use the hashtag SMC podcast to engage with the show. Thanks for listening.